Chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 273. Oh my goodness, that is a lot of episodes. Nonetheless, but I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Voldy. Shield, what's going on there? Shield.
Well, we do have some news to bring out, and of course, maybe you've seen it on social media, or maybe you haven't, but we are now homeowners. The Vold family is going to be moving Granite City Studios to a more permanent location. I will certainly say that. But also some other big news coming up this Friday night. Post-game of the Granite City Lumberjacks versus the Minnesota Wilderness. It's time to pay the piper, and I will be making my mark into history and possibly into a jail cell. Who knows? Post-tense. I will be holding up my end of the bargain of the bet that was placed between myself and Mitch Ribby, even though it was a one-sided bet. I will be streaking through Miller Buick GMC Arena in Sauk Rapids in a speedo. Yes.
Oh my God.
There will be a very captive audience. We've been pushing this thing back further and further. This will be a well-attended event. I will not be able to live this down for as long as I live. Now the question is, how inebriated will I be during said events as well? And God almighty, please let there not be any children in sight, because nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to see. But yes, I will be doing it this Friday night. I know I've gotten a lot of text messages, some phone calls from people saying, when are you doing this? When are you doing it? Why aren't you doing it now? Why is it taking so long? We just want you in the damn Speedo. But yes, it will finally be happening Friday night, post-game after the Granite City Lumberjacks game against the Minnesota Wilderness from Miller Buick GMC Arena. Yes, I will be paying up my end of the bargain, and it will be plastered all over social media. I'm sure it will be, and probably will be taken down off social media for guideline violations and everything. Nonetheless, I just want to get it over with at this point. So,
well, I and to be completely honest, as owners, I wasn't sure when it was happening. I didn't know anything about this. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Mitch doesn't even know about it. So now we got to tell Mitch. Tell him, hey, Mitch, Friday, it's happening. Video will be out there. Who knows what's going to happen? It gets taken down, gets somewhere else. I don't know. But it's happening. Honestly, I didn't see the Bears doing it. I really didn't. And things are falling all over the place for me right now, which is crazy in itself.
Crazy.
But
it's a crazy world we're living in.
It is. It very much is. I didn't think they would do it, but they did, and they got it done. And, Voldy, I was very confident until the Vikings just went downhill. Lions went downhill. Packers went downhill, too. How in the world is that? It's just crazy. It's crazy. So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Keep in tune for that this week. And just before the show, actually when I was driving back from work, Team USA wins in OT. Yeah, baby! They win in OT 2-1. And guess who got the goal? Our own Quinn Hughes, baby. Yeah! Yes. Congrats to the Team USA. And Voldy, what was the stat you were telling me before the show again? The first time U.S. has beaten Sweden how long?
It's the first time the U.S. have beaten Sweden in Olympic games since 1960. 66 years since the Americans have beaten Sweden. Yeah. First time since last time they played against each other, 2006, believe it or not. So it's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, that's for sure. There's a lot to consider now because they play Friday against Slovakia. Was I right on that, or was I wrong? Right, Slovakia. Yeah.
Slovakia. Mm-hmm. And Team Canada won in OT today. Against is it Chechnya? Czechia. And so they'll be playing Finland. So it'll probably I'm not saying I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but US Canada it's looking pretty good right now. But we'll see what happens Friday. Wanted to throw that at you. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Not only do we have our Tater Tot Hot Take. We're talking about the Twins, the big news out of spring training. Unfortunate news, to say the least. But good news, Anthony Edwards, All-Star Game MVP. Yes. We'll talk about this and what the expectation is coming back into the season, the second half of the season. NBA, it's going to be wild. We'll talk about that. And then tonight, Voldy will unleash his thoughts on the Bill Belichick not being in the Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer, all the beef with that, crazy. It is crazy. So Voldy will unleash his wrath on the haters there. ARA tonight, there's a lot of good ARAs tonight, and one of those being is that Ole Miss quarterback, Chambliss, granted a 6th year, which is crazy in itself. Had a great year this past year, and now he's coming back. Six years. He's pulling the Antoine Winfield Jr., so we'll talk about that. And tonight, another big news, Tyreekhill released by the Miami Dolphins, yes, as well as Bradley Chubb, too. So now, Tyreekhill, where's he going to go? Is he going to go somewhere north? Going to go somewhere south? I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that. And then Derek Carr, unretiring, apparently. Wanting to get back in the league. Wants to be on a championship caliber team, I think, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So Derek Carr, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. The Big Ten is adding more teams. They just keep adding more teams. 2014 playoff. Don't know why. Crazy. And the last area that we got tonight for the zoners. No, that's the one that was before. Should the NBA embrace tanking? It's crazy. There's a lot of thoughts on that, but and then Voldy, obviously, Shield shoutouts tonight. Got a couple nice Shield shoutouts tonight, so we got a lot to talk about. I say we get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. The first one we start off with the Minnesota Twins, and the big news out of spring training is Pablolopez possibly out for the rest of the 2026 season. Yes. Apparently, in training camp, had some was it elbow soreness, his arm or something like that. Come to find out that it was pretty bad, and he might have to go under Tommy John surgery, which is unfortunate because that'll probably end his season. Apparently, he is going to get a second opinion on this injury, but odds are it sucks. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, nothing can go right for this team right now. And a lot of people on the socials medias, we're just going to start right off the bat here tonight with our zoners and you, Voldy. The question in the lower third is, as what everyone's saying, is the Twins season over even before it starts? Can you answer that for us, Voldy? What do you got?
I mean, it's not off to a good start, definitely, when your projected opening day starter is already out before he even gets to a serious bullpen for spring training. My question really relies on what was he doing all off-season for his elbow to be sore already, not even to a full week or even a full day at spring training already. I'm sure they reported last week, obviously, so probably a few bullpens here and there, if that. But I mean, Lopez, was he playing winter ball? Was he used quite a lot? Not enough? I don't know. It's not good. And the fact that I even saw earlier today, I wasn't sure if I sent this to you or not, Matt, but projections already throwing out here, at least from Major League, from MLB and like MLB Tonight or whatever. Some guys are already talking about, the Twins should definitely trade Joe Ryan now to get something back with Pablo Lopez hurt. I'm like, all right, so we're already throwing the Twins out of contention before even the first spring training game. It's not good. Now it's a question of who's going to step up, because I felt like coming into the season that maybe there was one or two guys that could maybe fill in a spot start, but now one of those two guys is going to have to fill in that number 5 spot, and everybody just bumps up in the rotation here. So it's not good, especially with how the AL Central is going to look this season with a very, very loaded division. Just about every other team here in the Central has come to play this year.
You look at the Tigers; they've made a bunch of moves and everything like that, and they've
solid rotation.
They're going to look really good, and I just don't think the Twins will have enough to take them on, unfortunately. The news coming out about this is sad because he was going to be ready for the World Baseball Classic for Venezuela. And unfortunately, this pops up, and you wonder, like, what the hell's going on? What's wrong with Lopez now, because he's had the injury history, and that's not good. So getting to let's just call it now, he's probably not playing the rest of the season. I mean, we're just going to say it like it is. This is a opportunity for this organization to finally start making moves. And what I mean by that is they have to go out and get an ace, or damn near close to an ace of Pablo Lopez's caliber. Now, we do have Joe Ryan, and like you said, maybe we should trade Joe Ryan. So a lot of people are saying that specifically. But let's not forget, Tom Pohlad said that they were in on, I believe it was Valdez, and he ended up going from the Astros to Detroit. Yeah. So
Detroit's got a solid 4 or 5 man rotation already. I mean,
do.
you throw in the fact that they also brought back Justin Verlander. You have the reigning AL Central, AL Cy Young Award winner in Tarek Skubal. I think Jack Flaherty is also there too. That's the 4th man in the rotation. I think there was one other guy, Jones, I think was his name or something like that.
Yeah.
Can't remember, but they've got a solid 5-man rotation there in Detroit.
So you have that factored in. Teams are getting. I mean, the Guardians are usually in it. They're kind of sitting around. You never know what they'll do. The White Sox, well, they've gotten better, but The Royals, I don't even know, to be quite honest with you. I look at this as an opportunity for them to start putting their money where their mouth is. And that is Tom Pohlad saying that they were in on that. But the thing is, guys, we've heard this before. Oh, we were in on this guy, or we were in on this guy, we just couldn't find it. Well, when your payroll is as low as it is, and I know Tom Pohlad doesn't want to hear that because he hates hearing about that, but it's true. You don't have enough to go get a guy of that caliber. Now, let's not forget that the whole trajectory of the Twins, they want to change the way they do things. He says he's been talking to former players. He's been talking to fans, apparently. He's been talking to the players, and apparently he was in on the first meeting or something like that, and he spoke to the players and everything like that. And the players weren't used to that because that never happens with these Pohlads, right? And he's trying to change something that has been known about these Pohlads. They're cheap, they don't spend money, and they don't, whenever they're in the race, they don't add more to the team. This is your opportunity right now. You cannot... if you do the same thing that you guys have been doing ever since you've kind of taken this whole thing over, then that just tells me there's no hope at all for the squad and this ownership group. Jeremy Zoll, you better be on the phones like right now and figuring out who can we bring in to kind of help the situation, because you're running out of time because we've just started spring training. You have some assets that you can throw in there. I believe Trevor Larnach is a possibility to be traded somewhere. There's a couple names that have been brought up that the Twins can consider from this, but I think what's happening, I'm not saying they're going to make a deal, but they should. They should nonetheless. There are some guys that they can go out and trade for, and you can add some guys to that as well. You have to show this fan base that you're willing to make some moves in order to make this team a little bit more watchable. And I'm saying that as an outside source because I'm not going to go into the whole like, oh, they're not doing this and they're not doing this. I'm just giving you the facts. This team needs to go out and make a move. If they go out and make a move, I'll be happy with it. I think the players will be like, okay, they're serious. They're doing some things that we've been asking them to do for years now.
Right.
You've seen all the ads, the $2 beers before the was it Friday Saturday games or something like that that you can go
something like that, and then like something along the lines of like all day Sunday or something like, hey, I'll go down there and get nice and toasty off a $10 bill pretty quick. I mean, I'd be all for that. But yeah, the fact that we're already advertising $2 beers at a Twins game and spring training hasn't even started reeks of desperation for sure.
Well, and not only that, but these ads have been popping up left and right, and they've been emailing the hell out of Minnesota businesses because they know, that it's that bad. I think if you buy 2 games, you get the third one free.
Oh wow!
In all honesty, that's actually not a bad deal, but you got to have a competent team to put out there, and you don't have that right now. Just saying. But let me throw a couple names out there for you, Voldy, that they could look at and maybe trade for. There was one guy, I forget his name. There were 3 guys that people were talking about. But I think on this show, Voldy, we've been talking about one guy and a guy that could maybe, do some damage here, and that is a Trevor Bauer. Do the twin.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd throw his name out into the ether.
I needed to. I needed to.
He's there. Yeah. He will play for an incentive-based contract if he's still interested. I would assume that he would be. I don't know if he's back in Japan or not, or just sticking with the content thing, but he is good, ready to go. Lawsuit be damned, never was convicted, nothing, blacklisted, whatever. Twins are already hated by everybody at this point. Let's throw Trevor Bauer into the mix and have ourselves a real party here with some $2 beers on top of it. Let's get nuts. Let's do it.
And why the heck not is all what I say to that. I think it's something to consider. Look, you don't have to overspend. It's a cheap way to get somebody on this squad that can maybe help a little bit. See what happens. So that's a name to kind of keep an eye on. Another name that has been brought up to kind of maybe consider, but the thing is like I just got a feeling that they're gonna have to look at a Zebby Matthews or a David Festa, but I don't like that. Blake Snell, I've been hearing a couple things with that. I think that would be tough to try and do. They goofed on that or last year and whatnot. But Voldy, is there anyone else that you're kind of looking at and saying, you know what? These guys could maybe fit outside of Trevor Bauer. What do you got?
That was the one name I'm really hitching my wagon to.
Sure.
But, Trevor Bauer being 35 at this point, of course, he has pitched Japan, Mexico the last couple of years on top of it. I don't know if that's still quite feasible, but, it never hurts to take a look at it. But, I think the Twins, unfortunately, have really prided themselves on finding solutions from within, and of course, with the system that they do have, and of course, all these guys that they've promised to get some action at the major league level, like what's his name, Funderburk or something like that. He's been a guy that's been kind of lying in the weeds. Of course, he's been a reliever mostly, like you throw at David Festa, and of course, Zebby Matthews too. There are certainly a lot of things that could go right and very wrong for the Twins at the same time. But unfortunately, I feel like they're in a position right now, especially with the lack of direction at the top, if you will, beyond, of course, ownership, that they're probably going to they're going to be looking to stay where they are and keep status quo, as opposed to going out and trying to find somebody out on the market to be a starter for this team.
I got a couple names. Lucas Giolito.
He's still out there, yeah. That's good.
Yeah, so maybe that's an option. Zach Little, or didn't he sign recently, or am I losing my mind? Yeah, I think that's
Giolito wouldn't be bad. He's familiar with the Central. Of course, he pitched all those years in Chicago, and they had a pretty decent bounce back year with the Red Sox last season. So
so that's that. Those are a couple options. Griffin Canning, only 29, might be impossible. Never heard of him? Okay, well, then throw that one away. So, look, the deal in all of this is that they are in a situation of this situation I feel like the Twins are in right now is, look, you got to put your money where your mouth is. You have to make a move. This isn't you have to separate yourselves from what you were before and prove to this fan base that you guys are going to be that. And I think Tom Pohlad said, judge us by our wins and losses. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, what else do you think? I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover. They haven't started the season yet. I understand that, but it's hard not to notice all these issues that they're having right now. So, I feel sorry for Pablo-Lopez. I was really hoping to see him have kind of that bounce back year. Had some injury issues last year, too. You really feel for the guy. I mean, it just sucks. And Joe Ryan, I think they're going to have to rely heavily on him and to kind of carry that load unless they trade for somebody. And if they don't, well, you know the deal when it comes to that. Yeah. That's for sure. So we'll see how spring training goes. If you're a Twins fan right now, and I still am. I'm still gonna keep track and whatnot. I know what I said before, but look, I want them to have success. I want Shelton to have success. I want those guys to. I don't give a damn about the poll ads. That's for sure. Hopefully Zoll is better than Falvey. I don't know, but you got to think there was a reason why Falvey left when he did. So we will keep an eye on that. Twins drama is always a constant here on the show, so see what happens. All right, let's take a look here at our guy, the Ant-Man. Yes, he wins the All-Star Game MVP. Yeah. The Ant-Man. So we're very happy for Ant. He played really well. He played well against the other USA team. Was he on the Stars or the Stripes? Whatever. I'm not. What was it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look.
I didn't watch.
The world team was talking a lot of trash. They were saying, "Oh, we're gonna take these guys out and everything." But Ant was like, "Nah, I got this." And Ant went out, balled out. Actually, was somewhat watchable. The guys actually tried, which is a new,
yes. Loved it.
That is what we want to hear. Dunk contest was absolute trash, from what I hear. I don't even know.
Mid.
Did they even? Yeah.
Mid.
Yeah, that's
what it was.
Yeah, and was there even a 3-point contest? Do we know? I have no idea if there was, and who won. I don't know. Because I didn't care enough.
Yes, there was a 3-point contest. I think.
I'll look it up here.
Did Dame Lillard win the 3-point contest or something?
Yes, he did. Yes, because that's right. He's not fully back yet, but
yes,
he did win. Yes, I just saw that.
Yeah,
he needed more stars.
Yeah, and the fact that he was there, but yet. Was he even an all-star to begin with? I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Because he blew out his Achilles 10 months ago.
Yeah.
And now he's just there popping threes for an easy payday. Like, come on, dude. What are we doing?
Maybe he was showing out for the Wolves. Just saying. We'll see.
Hey, at least we got Mike Conley back, I guess.
We do, yeah. Hey, congrats. We got Mike Conley back.
Well, Minnesota Mike.
Minnesota Mike is back. Like we all thought. We all knew it was going to happen.
Absolutely.
He didn't, you're not going to go to Chicago. You're not going to go to Charlotte. And I think he kind of knew that too, and hence why they're like, all right, where do you want to, do we want us to waive you or something? Like, yeah, okay.
Right.
Then you come back. So that's cool. Let's talk about Ant. Ant wins the MVP, where it just shows how good he was in these games. He had 32 points. And 9 rebounds in 24 minutes. That just shows how good Ant is. And the thing is when Ant's on, it's hard to stop. He's hard to stop. And they won against the other team, USA, the Stars, and they won over. Led the U.S. Oh, they are. he was on the Stars, and they won against the World, and then they played Team Stripes, and they beat him, and he took home the MVP. So, Ant was fantastic. A lot of people are wondering now. They're like, okay, you got the All-Star Game MVP. Where do you take it from here? The Wolves have been to 2 straight Western Conference Finals. Can Ant get him over that hump? We'll see. Voldy, what are your thoughts on Ant winning the All-Star Game MVP, and what are your expectations for the second half of the season? What do you got?
We really saw the Timberwolves kind of scuffling here heading into the All-Star break and just trying to find enough consistency, at least from play as well, just based off of, okay, we need a guy here to kind of get us over the hump at the trade deadline. They go after somebody, maybe not the piece that they were fully looking for, but at least something to at least, ruffle a few feathers in the right way, of course. But then now you see Ant go out and perform at the highest level, and certainly a guy that has been kind of, placed on this pedestal to be like the future of the NBA or the next face of the NBA. He's very well quoted saying that he doesn't want that, that burden on top of him. But certainly is someone that will definitely be in consideration over the, next hopefully 10, 15 years in Minnesota, hopefully for all the duration of that, to be a guy that is certainly a high-ranking face of the league, if not officially unofficial. But I feel like, of course, with this, this could be the first step in the right direction, of course, with him just obviously putting up the big numbers, but competing against, obviously, all the big boys, because we know that he can certainly do that. Now it's about bringing it back home, especially, and saying, okay, we've done what we can here. The first half of the season doesn't mean anything. Everything from this point on forward, we're playing playoff basketball all the way till June, and we're going to be bringing home a championship one way or the other, and I hope that it'll certainly be in that direction here with Timberwolves, especially in this back half of the season.
Well, when you're showing up and you're showing out like he did, we got to see that the second half. We got to see the urgency. We have to look at what they're going to be able to do in these next, and especially these next few games when they get back. Now, the question I have about these Timberwolves and Ant is if they are on the same page. Now, I know we talked about last week in regards to the drama between Gobert, Finch, the coaching staff, and whatnot. I think that everyone's going to know, like, okay, it's time to batten down the hatches. It's time to play some, meaningful basketball. We're putting that all behind us, like you were saying. And I think there needs to be those voices in the locker room. I don't necessarily think that should be Rudy, but it is what it is. You have an open door to a top 3 seed right now. OKC is dealing with some injuries right now. The Nuggets, they're not as strong as you would think, and they play well against the Nuggets as well. The Lakers are kind of just they're fading a little bit too. And the Clippers are playing better, but I think you want to avoid that team. I just want them to be in the 1 to 3, so then they have some home court, hopefully, against these top teams. Now, as I'm looking at the standings for the Wolves right now, it seems to me like they're sitting at the 6th seed. You obviously want that to go a little bit higher. I'm hoping a 3. 4 I could maybe live with at this point, but it depends on who they play. So as it stands right now, let's take a look. They're right behind. They're tied with the Lakers, but it seems like the Lakers have the tiebreakers, so they could jump them. Houston, they're not bad. They're a pretty good team, to be quite honest. I think they could jump them, but the Spurs have been fantastic this year. They've been very good. Wemby's been kicking ass, taking names. That team's going to be really good. I don't know if they would catch up to the Spurs, but I know they can catch up to Nuggets, Rockets, and Lakers. I think that that's possible. Now, let's get to Ant. Ant, this is the perfect opportunity for Ant to shut down all of the hate that has been directed towards him. And that being said, he hasn't won a championship yet. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. Look, the guy's box office. The guy is that damn good. Now we need guys like McDaniels, Randall. Now that you have Io into the mix too, you need those guys to come through when you get to the playoffs. Now, I don't want to say that, the Wolves are going to be like an 8th seed or 7th seed. I mean, it's possible, but you only have like a game and a half lead over the Suns right now. I think what Ant has to solidify is strong end of the season, hopefully not a whole lot of injuries or long-term injuries for the Wolves, but it's going to be time to start winning. You got to get on these long win streaks, and if you lose like a game or two in a row, so be it, but they need to come out hot in the second half, and I think Anthony Edwards can lead that way. He's got to act, more of a leader with these guys and, be on the same page with everyone, especially on defense. They've been complaining about defense. It's time to lock it down. It's time for those guys to lock it down and get going on that. So, obviously, there was a 6th man of the year, and I think I sent to you, Voldy. Before we move on to Voldy's virtues, acknowledge your tribal chief, Naz Reid. Our guy, Naz Reid. 6th man of the year, first half of the season already. Tribal chief, he's still with us. He wasn't traded or anything like that. We are happy that Naz Reid is doing well, especially the first half of the season. Let's see what happens in the second half of the season. Now, I like what I see from the Wolves, man. I mean, they didn't overspend. They didn't give up a whole farm to get Giannis. They look pretty good. I like what I'm seeing. They'll be in the mix for sure. So, all right, that'll do it for Hot Take tonight. A couple of hot takes to get through. Voldy's virtues tonight. Very controversial with the Bill Belichick. It seems to me that a lot of haters out there, for sure in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that do not want Bill Belichick in there because of whatever reasons. Voldy's going to explain that in Voldy's virtues. So I say we go to the Temple of Wisdom so Voldy can enlighten us with his knowledge.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's virtues.
Yes, gather round for Voldy's virtues. We are in the Temple of Wisdom. So, Voldy, why don't you enlighten us with your knowledge?
Yeah, I know previously here on the show a few weeks back, right around Super Bowl time, that, of course, information was sent out, and we have already talked about it on the show. But giving it its proper due, we needed to talk about the fact why Bill Belichick, not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, is probably one of the greatest injustices and most idiotic things that has happened in the 21st century. Of course, as the announcement of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 features a master class of players that have made an impact on the game. Of course, those enshrinees to be elected did include, of course, the likes of quarterback, that being Drew Brees, former running back Roger Craig, former linebacker in, of course, Luke Kuechly, and Minnesota's very own wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald. And, of course, the greatest clutch kicker of all time, if not the greatest kicker of all time, that being Adam Vinatieri. But one name was held off said list that was certainly notable among this list of honorees in his first appearance on the ballot, and for some reason he was held off being a first ballot Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winning coach Bill Belichick. Now, how can the Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, and the voting committee that does consist of media members, former coaches, executives, enshrinees into the Hall of Fame, how can they be held in such high regard without one of the greatest coaches to have walked the sideline basically out of sheer pettiness because of the lack of respect that they had for him on the field? I mean, it's certainly insufferable, the fact that they cannot have themselves be considered the Hall of Fame without a coach that is certainly the greatest of all coaches, if not the greatest in the Hall of Fame. Could the voting committee be so self-centered over these past vendettas? I know conversations had taken place with, of course, former Colts executive, that being the GM and Bill Polian, of course, right around the times of Spygate, and of course, him saying that maybe he should be held out a year out of the Hall of Fame just for that, infraction against them. Tony Dungy also threw some kind words out there, or maybe not so kind words out there too. But for these past vendettas that didn't so much that they didn't beat Belichick or were quote unquote wronged by his teams, of course, the conversations taking place in Spygate, Deflategate, just their general tactics too. The reason that they hold such a high power to deny his entry into the hallowed halls of Canton baffles me to this day. Especially, it's only been a few weeks, but yet still crazy to even think about that we're having this conversation right now. This comes down to the quote-unquote character clause BS, of course, that, does haunt a few guys, with their, their lack of media savviness or not giving too many things away. Of course, we've seen it more on the Major League Baseball side of things and the Baseball Writers, Baseball Writers Association of America, and their denial of certain players based off of how, certain guys were not very friendly to the media. If it comes down to that BS, because Belichick didn't give away game plans or wasn't too forward about, game plan information or putting his teachings out there for public broadcast back then, his job wasn't so much to be, considered, a friendly face or whatever. His job was about to put his team in the right position and put his team in a position to win with his players in order for them to succeed. Sure, maybe there were some things that didn't rub people the right way when it came to, of course, his the way he referred to, obviously the way his press conferences and dealings with the media went. 8 Super Bowl wins, 6 as head coach for the Patriots, 2 as defensive coordinator for the New York Giants, 333 wins as head coach, turning around franchises. Of course, we already know about the Patriots, but how about his time in Cleveland? His time in Cleveland was certainly well noted before they folded and moved to Baltimore. And, of course, numerous Hall of Fame players, not just from the Patriots, not just from the Cleveland Browns, and not just from, of course, the New York Giants as well. But there are so many players that will hold Bill Belichick in high regard. There's nothing more that can be stated by the fact that Bill Belichick is indeed a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, but the complete idiocy of the voting committee and their lack of common sense has robbed everyone of that once in a lifetime moment because of Bill Belichick and maybe just him not being, a friendly face or whatever sort of dealings happen behind the scenes. All that can be taken one way or another, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie, and the fact that people are rallying behind him certainly would say that is well worth a Hall of Fame. But I guess we'll have to wait until another year.
Mine.
Well, I feel like the whole situation in regards to Belichick too, and I said this before, and I understand that there's enough to. Oh wow, I put that. There we go. The issue I think there is the Spygate, the Deflategate, every gate that has been factored in. We've talked about it on this show for numerous years, Voldy. They could have won with a beach ball, I think you said, in that game against the Colts. I mean, It's that simple. And the Spygate thing, okay, they probably crossed the line with that, but it still didn't. The players got to play. And Belichick had them set up perfectly. He had the right coaching staff, and they were able to win. And I think that the committee, they're sour about it. But again, I'm going to say it. I blame Jordan Hudson. I blame Jordan Hudson for the issues in regards to this whole situation too, because I just think people are just kind of basing it off the reality of the whole deal with him and the girlfriend and how he's treated people and whatnot. Listen, the guy's won a bunch of Super Bowls, not just with the Patriots, but defensive coordinator for the Giants as well. So there's a lot to be said with that. So, Voldy, I agree with you. I think there's a lot to consider with the situation, and they got to fix it, man. I mean, this isn't. It's one thing with Clowntonio Brown, but I mean, Bill Belichick he has to be in first ballot. And the thing is, I don't know what the situation is per se with that whole situation. So, with that being said, I will say that I think he's going to get in next year. So, would you say he's definitely in next year, Voldy?
I would certainly hope so. Yeah,
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah, I would definitely be shocked as well if he wasn't in next year. Him and Robert Kraft. I feel like they both can go in at the same time.
Agreed. And there's going to be a lot of first-time guys, too, so maybe that factors. But still, you got to give him – he's got to be in the Hall of Fame. It's that simple. So, well said, Voldy, with virtues tonight. ARA, we've got a lot of ARAs to get through. There is Chambliss. He is returning for a sixth college football season. Yes, with Ole Miss. He was granted just not too long ago, so we'll talk about that. Tyreekhill is now released by the Dolphins. A big news coming out of the Miami Dolphins situation. Derekcarr apparently wants to unretire. He wants to be back in the NFL. We'll talk about that. And then we got the Big Ten. They're doing it again. They're adding more teams for some odd reason. So the Big Ten is going to be back and going as well with all these teams. We'll see. I don't know. I don't like it. Should the NBA embrace tanking? A lot of controversy surrounding that, too. So a very controversial ARA tonight. So let's get it going. What's up? Observed or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off in the world of college football as Ole Miss quarterback Trinidadchambliss was granted an extra year of eligibility after a state court judge ruled in his favor with the issued injunction that paves the way for Chambliss to be eligible for the 2026 season. Of course, it was previously detailed that the NCAA ignored a medical evidence that denied Chambliss's waiver for a sixth season, and that the quarterback would suffer irreparable harm if he was denied this year. Of course, this coming off another historic run for the Ole Miss football program. Besides all the turmoil happening from within with Lane Kiffin tucking tail and heading to LSU, but it will grant a request for a 6th year of eligibility for Chambliss, who previously, of course, won a national championship at Ferris State, then making the jump to the Division I level with Ole Miss, especially as their starter through last season. Now with Ole Miss now locking up their quarterback in Trinidad-Chambliss for a 6th year of eligibility. Is it absurd or approved? Will Ole Miss be back in the college football playoff this season?
It's a good question. They had a hell of a season this past season. The Lane Kiffin situations that they have been dealing with, especially with the whole LSU stuff too. I mean, it has gotten to a point where they overcame that, and yet they had some tough. They have some tough times, but they overcame those situations. Chambliss, I think, is going to be a quarterback that coming up, obviously not in this draft, but the next draft, he's going to have a lot of eyes looking at him, and I think this is going to be very important for him to kind of show his stuff. He's done some really good things so far. So now their team is going to be with kind of a different coaching staff a little bit. They have some guys coming back that I think Trinidad will appreciate and like, and they'll have a lot of fun getting back. I think they will. I'm going to go out and say Voldy. It's got my stamp of approval. I think that this team is starting to come out of the SEC. They've beaten teams like Alabama. They've gone toe-to-toe with a lot of these powerhouse schools and have done well. And Chambliss, I think, did they lose to Miami? I'm not sure if or was it somebody else? I can't remember. Or was it Indiana? I think it was Miami.
Miami, yes. It was Miami because they scored a touchdown late. Yep.
That's right. All right. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I think they will. I truly think they will. Ole Miss is starting to come on a little bit. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think even with the year that they did have, of course, with Lane Kiffin and, of course, Charlie Weiss Jr. being the offensive minds for them this past season, I feel like they'll have the right system, the right setup for them to be successful with Chambliss for another season. I think just building off the success that they had last year will definitely be beneficial, and just having a little bit more consistency as opposed to the obvious turn and burn that they've had with their program over the last couple of years, and quarterbacks and playmakers as well. But at least having another guy that's familiar and can continue to be a leader in that locker room that certainly could use as much of a leader as anybody at this point, I think will be good. I think the success that they've had will certainly be challenged this upcoming year, of course, with LSU being, with their old head coach from Ole Miss there in Kiffin. But I think there's no reason Ole Miss can't be competitive and find themselves back into the college football playoff, maybe as one of those lower seeds, or maybe, win enough favors to at least sneak in there at a 10, 11, maybe even a 12 spot as well. I think they'll definitely be in the playoff next year.
It just kind of shows, too, that it's not just Alabama dominating all the time nowadays.
Right.
I mean, these other schools are coming to come through. LSU, I think, is going to be in a better place than they were with what's his face, Brian Kelly. Now they'll I think that, and SEC is always tough, but I think Ole Miss is top of the pack when you really look at it. So, stamp of approvals all around. All right, next one, Voldy.
Heading to the world of the NFL, of course, with a new league year just a few weeks away, it is being put out and reported that the Miami Dolphins are releasing wide receiver Tyreekhill on a series of moves that will make their salary cap a little bit more friendly in high regards. Of course, the release was also granted to a former Pro Bowl linebacker Bradley Chubb, and a few other players were also let go of some contracts that did not look so good on the books for the Miami Dolphins under their new leadership and under new head coach. Of course, the time in Miami for Tyreek Hill can certainly be said ups and downs, to say the least. Very ups with, of course, record-breaking seasons and downs of him being pulled over before a game and arrested, and of course, injuries reflecting on a few other ways. But of course, after making his name in Kansas City and thus being traded to the Miami Dolphins, where will Tyreek Hill find himself for the upcoming 2026 NFL season?
Well, I would say that Tyreek is in a very interesting situation. Like you said, he's getting up there in age. I don't want to go as far to say he won't be as fast as he was or anything like that. I still think he's going to, have blazing speed. Now, I look at his situation because that injury he had, I watched that game. And oh my God, did that leg look like a noodle. Good Lord. I was just taken aback by that whole thing. And it's going to be tough for him to come back from. And is he going to be ready by week 1? I don't know. That's a big question with this. But it seems like the Dolphins are pretty much they're undoing the whole Mike McDaniel additions that they had, and they're kind of moving on from that whole situation, and they're kind of adding their own players. But they shed a lot of cap space with his release, and not only him, but Bradley Chubb as well. So where will he land? I know there's been a lot of connections with Kansas City again because Eric Bieniemy is back with the Chiefs. Another team to keep your eye on could be the Ravens. I think the Ravens are a possible team that could look into that as well. Yeah, I know. That's an interesting one. I could also see, and I think this would be a long shot because I don't know who would want to do this, but the Jets. Maybe they put out a waiver. I mean, they don't really have a quarterback at this point. But, you never know. You never know. They can shell out the money, that's for sure, but they can't put it together with their team. Anyway, but out of those, and look, I know there was some speculation, and I know people have heard this before. Tyreek Hill was a Vikings fan before this was all said and done. He was talking about he loved the Vikings, he loved Moss, he loved Carter, all that stuff. I just, right now, if you look at the situation with the Vikings and their cap, there's a lot more needs right now, guys. I mean, there's just, I know I threw that out there to people. I just wanted to see, what reactions I get. A lot of people are like, hell no. And a lot of people are like, the price is right, as Bob Barker would say. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Look, he has the familiarity with, and the Chiefs just shed like, what was it, $43 million from the Mahomes contract? Jeez, that is a lot of cap space now that they have to spend to get kind of that caliber. The only issue is the injury. Is the injury going to hamper him because give him a boatload of money and if he's not on the field, he's not fully recovered, that's a problem.
Right.
So give me the Kansas City Chiefs, but keep an eye out for the Ravens. That's all I can put. So I'll go with Chiefs. Voldy, what do you got?
The Ravens is a very interesting curveball to throw out there. That is certainly something worth consideration for sure. But the way things have been moving this offseason, of course, a full offseason for, the old squad that Cheetah used to call home in Kansas City. You got a fully rested, Travis Kelce. You have Patrick Mahomes who's going to be coming back from a torn ACL. You have some young playmakers for Kansas City, but none of them really that decision or that decisiveness to say, I'm the number one guy, I'm going to go out and make plays. And the fact that they retooled a couple of contracts to at least open up a little bit more cash, I don't see why they don't bring back Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. I feel like just what they were missing was that big play threat. Of course, they had some glimpses of it with Xavier Worthy, but, just really hasn't stepped out leaps and bounds from where he has started from year one, to get to this point now, probably going into year 3, I believe, for Worthy. Definitely needs to make that big jump. And why not have a guy that has certainly been nothing but making big jumps and, has been nothing but in impact since he came into the league, and that being in tyreekhill. Run it back one more time, if not 2 more times, to see if they can at least recapture some of that original magic that they had when everybody was in love with Kansas City. Of course, having Eric Bieniemy come back as well, that's a huge plus too. I'm sure that'll help. But of course, might as well ride out into the sunset together if they can, with Mahomes, with Kelsey, with Reed and Bieniemy, and maybe look towards some of these young guys to say, all right, we've gone this far. It's time for you guys to step up. I would definitely like to see tyreekhill back in Kansas City to at least, garner some of that old magic that they had during those original runs to the Super Bowl.
The one thing that I do get concerned about is I still feel like they were doing the same things that they have been when they had the dynasty. And you gotta move, or you gotta adjust the offense, do some different things. I think they're capable of doing so, but a lot of it is coming down to the injury part, and that's the big thing with it.
Right.
Would you say what percent chance? And I'm just throwing this out there, maybe just for the content. But what percent chance do you think that he could be a Viking? Seriously.
7%.
That's kind of high. I'm not going to lie. I will say it's a little high, but.
I threw a number out there.
That's good.
Higher, but I felt like 7 would be a good number, yeah.
I'm going to go 5. So not super high. And again, they would have to pull a lot of strings. You're going to have to figure out your situation with the quarterback, obviously. You're going to have to figure out your situation with maybe even corner, too, and, maybe offensive line, especially center. Good Lord. We'll see. But, yeah, I'll give it 5. You give it 7. We'll go from there. All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we say in the world of the NFL, and it was commented on in a podcast hosted by the brothers Carr, David and Derek Carr, that Derek Carr has confirmed that he'd be willing to unretire, but said it would take a special circumstance to lure him back onto the playing field. Now, of course, Carr retired from the NFL last May from the New Orleans Saints after had a labral tear and a significant degenerative changes to his rotator cuff. Of course, the mounting injuries for Derek Carr went way too high from his time in the Raider system, then to the New Orleans Saints. Now, he would say it would take to be a lot of things. Of course, the 2 main things being he'd have to be healthy and a chance to win a Super Bowl. Of course, we saw this past NFL season what a guy sitting on the couch at a progressive age, coming back for the last couple of weeks of a football season can do, but would certainly be quite interesting because of the fact that Carr is still under contract with the New Orleans Saints if he would have to, if he would come out of retirement. Now, certainly, of course, the career of Derek Carr has been interesting since getting drafted out of Fresno State to the then Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas, and then ultimately ending his career with the New Orleans Saints. Now, Carr did have a few ups and downs, to certainly say the least. Of course, as a 4-time Pro Bowl selection with the Raiders, and of course has thrown 257 touchdowns and 112 career interceptions. But is it absurd or approved? Would Derek Carr be on a championship caliber team if he would? Would Derek Carr be on a championship caliber team if he unretires?
Well, I think there's a lot to consider with Derek Carr and his situation. One, especially with, I think people were like, he had to, there was a very minimal chance that he'd be back to what, you usually see him as. But that's a risky deal, getting back from that rotator cuff. It's not easy. But if he were to, I think there's a lot of teams that you could consider Derek Carr as kind of a backup role. Now, I know people have been saying the Vikings, I feel like any NFL player, it's like, oh, is there a Vikings connection here? There's always a Vikings connection here. But I wouldn't be a fan of it because I just think that situation, are you really, really willing to risk life and limb to get this guy on the practice squad, or not the practice squad, excuse me, good Lord, on the team and compete for the starting job with J.J. McCarthy? I don't think so. Will he be on a championship caliber team if he unretires? I'm thinking of some teams that could possibly, and I'm not putting the Vikings in there for the people that are wanting that. You can, but I don't think it's a smart idea. I'm just trying to think of some teams that could. I could see maybe a Denver. I mean, if Bo Nix gets hurt or something like that, they could maybe rely on a Derek Carr. I don't know. Sean Payton, unfortunately, could maybe get something out of him. Hopefully not. If they lose out on Daniel Jones, I could see the Colts making a move there. I doubt it. Maybe the Chargers with Harbaugh backing up Herbert. Not saying that he's going to be sorry, but that could be a possibility as a possible deal there. I don't think it would be with the Bills or anything like that, but Chiefs, no. I'll say this. I don't think it will be on a championship caliber team. I think it will be on a playoff team per se. So I'll go with absurd, but I'll go with like a playoff team that could have a chance, and you never know. I mean, you go to Seattle to back up Darnold. I don't know. I mean, it's just it's hard to say because there's a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. I don't think the Jets are gonna take that risk and be like, come on, our team. We don't have a quarterback, and we really have not fared well with them. So yeah, I'll go with absurd. So Voldy, what do you got?
At this point in the career with Derek Carr, I mean, I've always been a huge Derek Carr supporter and fan from his time. Obviously he made the Raiders. He was a 4-time Pro Bowl selection, and he certainly made them at least something to be worth considering, even in the times that, nobody really believed them. They're in the basement of the AFC West and the AFC as a whole, but still they were fun to watch at certain points too. With Derek Carr, you always had a chance. And as, his time and with the Raiders ended and then going to New Orleans, got off to a hot start, but then just progressively got worse from that point. It was kind of tough to see, but I feel like, especially with him, everybody keeps saying, once you leave the game, can you stay away? And now we're seeing a little bit more of a common trend as of late with, these players that retire maybe earlier than expected. Then a year out, they're just like, I feel pretty good. Well, yeah, you've had a whole year, no practices, no training camp, no OTAs, a full off season of just, for lack of a better term, sitting around doing nothing and not getting beaten up, week in and week out. And I would certainly hope you'd feel good at that point and thinking that you could come back. I'm not surprised by that, but the injuries are definitely of a concern. But as for a championship caliber team, that's going to be tough. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are certainly very, could be championship level to say the least, but which team is certainly going to take the risk? And of course, with him still being under contract with the Saints, I mean, the Saints would have to be compensated for giving up said rights or whatever for Derek Carr. I highly doubt it'll be a championship caliber team. I think it's absurd. I don't think he'll be on a championship caliber team, but I would certainly like to see Derek Carr give it one more go. But, the injuries, and especially because what we've seen, of course, with like Drew Brees and how his, once he left the game too, and how his shoulder, his whole right arm is basically shot at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point
and
too.
can't quite, have that same pop that he used to. Apparently, and, he can still throw it, but not to the same of what he could have back in the day. But I think it's absurd. I don't think it's quite worth it for Derek Carr to put himself back in that position again.
Well, and again, I feel like we write off these guys too quickly. He was with the Raiders. He was with the Aints. Mm-hmm. That should tell you enough. Like those teams just aren't very good. And I think he got the Raiders to playoffs once, and they lost Burrow.
Yep.
Yeah, Burrow and the Bengals with Josh Jacobs. Mm-hmm. And if he's on a good team, maybe he can do something with it. I don't know. I mean, it's very possible, too. If anything, from what we saw this year of Sam Darnold, again, under the right circumstances, they could, have a resurgence. Who knows? Not saying that Derek Carr will, but, we'll have to see. I mean, the right situation, like he said. We'll see. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world back to college football as the Big Ten Conference in the football side of things is circulating a document that lays out what a 2014 college football playoff would look like, including the elimination of conference championship games and a 23+1 selection model and an additional weekend of on-campus CFP home games. Now, with the current format as it stands there with 12 teams and, of course, the first round being home playoff games and, of course, teams getting a first-round bye through the 2026 season. Now, of course, there are some concerns that potential expansion would happen sooner than later, but at least for right now, we currently hold at the 12 playoff team format. Now, with the idea is increasing conversations, of course, with the Power Four leagues, at least when it comes to expansion, but that would certainly be something worth consideration. At least the SEC is also throwing out maybe going to a 16-team format, while the Big Ten only wants to go to 16 with an agreement that will eventually go to 24. Of course, the SEC and the Big Ten being the two, big decision-making entities for the college football playoff that would hold it at a current stalemate. Now, of course, it would the 24-team format, as I was trying to find the information here, would consist of the best 23 teams in one spot for the group of 6. There would be no automatic qualifiers, which had been a point of emphasis for the Big Ten in discussions last year. If the field grows to 24, sources have indicated that automatic qualifiers would matter less to the Big Ten. Of course, the breakdown of the field would include 7 SEC teams, 6 Big Ten, 5 Big 12, 3 ACC, 2 group of 6, and, of course, Notre Dame. Now, with that being thrown into there and now making it 3 straight national championships for the Big Ten Conference, 24-team college football playoff, is it absurd or approved? Would this plan be implemented within the next 5 years?
It's just, they keep adding. They keep adding. Mm-hmm. They keep adding. They keep adding. They keep adding. I get the conference championship bit because, nowadays it's just kind of like, okay, it affects, the seeding and who's in, who's out and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand getting rid of that. Okay, that's fine. The issue I have is that they keep having to add teams that probably shouldn't even be in it. Let's be honest. 23 teams, and include, like you said with the Notre Dame thing, we don't want to hurt people's feelings and this and that and that. Look, I don't give a damn either way. If you're not one of the top 12 teams, and you lost to some key teams and everything like that, I don't feel sorry for you. You should have won those games. Notre Dame's one of those teams. You should have won those games. I get sick and tired of the NCAA trying to keep adding it like a March Madness bracket. It's stupid. It's so dumb. They should have kept it. What they should have done is had 8 teams. 8 teams, you can keep if you keep the conference championships, fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. It should be 8 teams. And they did the 4. I didn't mind that too much. I still think 8 is the perfect number here. They added 12. I think that's too much too. It makes no sense to make this a March Madness bracket like you do with basketball. It makes zero sense. But it's like, well, anybody can win, It's fully open. But the Power 5, listen to the teams that were in it this year, right? You had Ohio State in it. They're always in it, right? Are the teams below them going to beat them? Depending on who they are. But those low seeds, some of those guys won't stand a chance. Let's just say, I'm just throwing out a team here, Tulane or something like that, and they're ranked 24th. They've had a good season. And then they get walloped in the first round by Ohio State. That's not fair to them. It's just they keep adding this stuff, and they keep thinking that it's going to attract more people to, and it's gotten to a point where they just need to accept what they have and stop bitching and moaning about, oh, we got to add more teams in order to make more money. It's stupid. It's dumb. If they were to implement this, I think it's a big mistake. The conference championships won't bother me as much, but I think this is a terrible model. Didn't the Big Ten have some type of model that we talked about on this show, like the 16-team deal? Or
so the SEC wants 16.
SEC, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That and the
one,
Big Ten's like, well, we'll do that, but if we go to 24, that'd be even better.
I'd like to ruin a good thing. Well, the sad thing is, Voldy, it's got my stamp of approval. They're going to find a way to get this implemented because all of these conferences want this to happen. They think they know best and all this stuff, and it's dumb, but it's going to be implemented. I hate to say it, but it will be. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, the fact that we continue to talk about updating the college football playoff when we can't even go one full season without talking about the current college football playoff, it's getting really annoying at this point. And I'm all for, let's just eliminate all games. No more bowl games. No more conference championships. Everybody just play whoever the hell you want. Keep your rivalries. Do whatever. And we'll figure out a national champion at some point. Just like the old days or whatever, where you would play your conference schedule, you'd get into a bowl game, and then basically writers would decide who the national champion was before the BCS and all that. Don't even get me started on the BCS, what a crock of crap that was back in the day too. But this is just getting more and more out of hand. Soon we'll probably be talking about a 32-team college football playoff beyond the 12, beyond the 16, beyond the 24. Let's just stick with 12. And within 5 seasons, I wouldn't be surprised within 5 years we go to a 16-team format. Now, going to 24 within 5 years, that'd be kind of crazy. I mean, maybe discussions around 2028, 2029 maybe of expanding out even further. But right now, the 12 is kind of where it's at right now. I would say 16 before 24 within 5 years. I'm going to say it's absurd. I don't think they'll be implementing this just beyond the fact that there's going to be so many more headaches beyond right now where everything is when it comes to the college football playoff.
Wouldn't surprise me at this point. I mean, there's so many issues, and it's just like they just can't figure it out. They just can't. I don't understand it. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
Well, in a surprising turn, at least conversations taking place, the NBA is making actions towards teams trying to tank to better their playoff position, or I should say lack of playoff positioning, draft positioning. But now some people are coming to the defense of said teams and saying the NBA should take into consideration maybe going towards tanking to at least improve fan experience. Now, last week, the NBA did fine the Utah Jazz and the Indiana Pacers, with the NBA saying both teams sat healthy players in recent games, while noting the moves that compromise the league's integrity will not be tolerated. Now, comments also came out from Mark Cuban, of course, the former majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, saying that the fan experience is the chief among the reasons the NBA should, quote, embrace tanking. In a post to his X account, Cuban did say the NBA has misguided thinking that fans want to see their teams compete every night with a chance to win. It's never been that way, or nor should it. When, of course, it always comes down to saying why it's worse now in, of course, the concerns when it comes to tanking. Also, trying to pull up the rest here of this information. But, obviously, certain teams at a certain point of the season say that maybe it's time to fold up shop and go to next season, or at least look to get a better spot in the draft lottery, and things would certainly help in that regard. And, of course, saying that teams being fined for that is, quote, it's a joke. Now, of course, with, a lot of teams trying to maybe better themselves off with a lack of, productiveness in the current season, that's saying that maybe sitting healthy players and maybe looking towards tanking could lead to widespread, dismay in the entire league. But is it absurd or proof? Should the NBA embrace tanking as opposed to mitigating these risks and continue to fine teams for sitting these healthy players?
Well, we're going to do something a little different here, Voldy. You ready for this?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at what he said. Check it out. Yes, Voldy. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. And, you know what? You should probably see where we're at. Hey, there we are. Hi.
Hello.
I think it's interesting because we talked about the Jazz, 500,000, fined 500,000. Indiana Pacers fined 100,000. I think it's interesting that Mark Cuban makes, I would say some interesting points. I'm not going to sit back and say that he was wrong on some of this, but there's a few issues with his situation here. And he says, let's bring it up here. It was right here. He said, to Cuban, a good fan experience also includes affordability, which is, I would say, true. Who cares least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game to buy their kids a jersey of their fave player. The NBA should worry more about pricing fans out of the games than tanking. While some of that I think is true, but I think it's on the teams, Voldy, that they need to understand too that, just because you're tanking, just because you want to, get a certain pick and everything like that is kind of asinine. And a lot of issues with this too is guys taking games off. And let's be honest, they do it. It doesn't matter who you are. They will make sure that they don't play like general soreness. Jimmy Butler, perfect example. Fans, especially let's talk about him saying with, the affordability stuff. Let's just say they get tickets, they win tickets to a game or something like that, and the kid wants to see their favorite player. Oh, well, he's taking a rest day, so you won't get to see him that day. That's an issue. Back in the day, there were no issues of that because people liked watching them play. Jordan was playing no matter what, right? And I think a lot of those players, Barkley, the list goes on. I don't understand why people think that tanking is you're just going to go up to your team and say, listen, guys, we're just going to have to just tank. Do your best, but, just try not to win. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. You try to, develop. I understand that. You try to develop, you try to get these players to really buy in and play well. But sometimes injuries happen and whatnot, but you want to try to put the best team out there on the floor. You can add some, put some players in there, but these star players have to be playing these games so that these kids can look up to those guys instead of, oh, he's taking a rest day because this game doesn't really mean much. Well, this family can only go to one game a year or whatever, and they want to see, and I'm throwing out an example, they want to see SGA play, but SGA, he flopped too hard, so they're giving him a rest day. Yes, I did throw a cheap shot. But this situation about tanking and everything like that is stupid. And I know people bring that up with the NFL too. Stop with that nonsense about tanking. It doesn't work, especially when these teams are blatantly doing it. It's like, well, we got Luka Doncic and everything. Well, guess what, Mark Cuban? You traded him away. Your GM traded him away too. So there's a lot of issues with this. There are some points that I kind of agree with him on. But listen, I'm not a fan of the tanking stuff. I agree. They should be taking draft picks away if people are doing that. I think a lot of teams are. The Jazz, the Pacers, for real, are really bad. I think it's really bad, and it's ridiculous. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think just the whole stigma around tanking, and of course we've seen it in professional sports, especially in a league like the NBA, it's much easier to do than compared to some other leagues, like obviously like a longer season, everything. It's hard to tank in the NFL because obviously the season is so short and a lot of things have to go into it too. But with the NBA, the MLB, NHL, those are much easier to quote unquote tank because the season is so long and there's more opportunities for that to happen. At least see some young players get their chances to play and hopefully get better stock going into next season. I think maybe there isn't so much when it comes to maybe pointing out like, hey, you guys are tanking, but it's like, I know that maybe some more internal talks have to say like, look, we know you guys aren't doing so hot. We know you guys are probably phoning it in here this season, but like, keep this up. We're going to have to do something more progressive here and take some money, maybe some draft picks away of that sort. But like, of course, bringing light to it is certainly not, bringing light to a bad situation is only going to make things worse. Now saying like as soon as a team loses 3-4 games in a row, it's like, oh, they're tanking, season's over. It's like, no, we just suck and we hit a bad stretch in the season. Like, sorry, we're really injured or whatever. Should the league embrace tanking? Like, I'm going to say, I know there's a lot of other things to worry about too, like obviously affordability and getting kids to show up. Of course, the whole, load management thing too is certainly something that's brought a lot of eyes over the last few years too. But I feel like tanking is much lower on the list when it comes to where the NBA needs to be focused on. Should they embrace the tanking? I'm going to say it's absurd. I don't think they should be embracing the tanking, but they definitely shouldn't be, just letting it happen. Like, hey, there needs to be more eyes brought to it. Like, hey, we know what's going on here, guys. Knock it off. Actually go out and try to play.
Right. And, if and if the situation's grim already, then just leave it as is. Just exactly. Do what you can and go from there. I have a hard time of coaches going up to these players and saying, guys, go out there and don't try too hard. We might take you out and maybe give some other. Exactly. It makes no sense to me. It doesn't. And look, the Vikings could have phoned it in this season after that Seattle game, after they got walloped and everything like that, but they didn't. They went on the winning streak, and they finished strong. Sometimes finishing strong in a season helps the next season and the next, and so on and so forth. So this tanking idea, yes, absurd, 100%. I'm with you. So. All right, great job with Air A this time around, Voldy, as always. Shield shoutouts tonight. If you didn't hear the big news, you will hear it again because we will let Voldy reveal it in case you missed it, as well as a Granite City Lumberjack as well. Just throwing out a teaser. Let's get it going. It was shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
time for Shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who shouting out tonight?
Well, of course, we did lead off the show with it. It's been a long time coming, but finally we are putting down some deep roots here in St. Cloud. Yesterday we did sign the paperwork and got our keys to our first house. And yes, we will be hosting a housewarming party coming up here in the next few weeks. Of course, we got to move from this current site of where we're at into our new place as well. A lot of thank yous out there. Of course, I got to give a big thank you to creative consultant, Mrs. Sarah Ann Voldy. She's done all the legwork, 99.9% of the legwork when it came to finding the house, getting everything set up. A lot of the paperwork as well to get us where we need to be. Joe Clements as well, a realtor, to at least, get the ball rolling with us too, and all his great people that he's got us in contact with to get the house looked at, home inspection, get our financing set up, and of course getting the title for the house. Big thank you to all those people, especially my wife to at least get us going there. And we're more than excited, of course, the process of moving in, and we're more than ready to get going with the next chapter in our lives. And of course, do have to send a kind note as well, and congratulations to Ty Smith of the Grant City Lumberjacks on setting the single season goal record for the Lumberjacks after a 6-goal weekend, which was a sweep of rival Alexandria, now totaling 38 goals on the season to move past the previous leader of the year, Sean Kenny, who set the record back in 2009-2010 with 37 goals. And we still have more games left in the regular season and hope for many, many more out of Ty Smith on top of that at the right time. And that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
That was a mistake.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That was a mistake.
I did make a mistake right there. I'm sorry. Yes, wrong buttons. So, yeah, that was perfect. Great job. Shield shoutouts as always.
There we go.
Voldy.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back. Yes, congratulations to you guys as well. I know it's been a long time coming. You guys are going to enjoy the new place. So the question I have to ask you, though, Voldy, do we have a potential name of the new studio that you will be in? Is there going to be a new name, or is it going to be the same, or what are we thinking? I know it's kind of spur of the moment. Off the top of your head?
Haven't gotten to that point yet, but I don't see why you change something that's still perfectly fine with Grand. I mean, we're still going to be still there, so I don't know. We'll have to think about it.
We'll think about it. We'll discuss, and if we want to keep it the way it is, let's keep it the way it is, because Granite City Studios, we gotta love it as well. So, yes, great job with Shield shoutouts as always, Voldy. Guys, there's some merch. We've got plenty of merch, guys. We got the hats. Look, this is the 5-year anniversary hat. We got those. Shouts out to the people last week for the Super Bowl, Mitch and Jared Doyle. Yes, winning those for the Super Bowl stuff. I will be sending Jared's out here probably tomorrow as well. But if you're wondering, what kind of hats are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about these, you goofs. Look at this. MinneZona Sports Live, Minnesota Vikings. MinneZona Sports Live, Minnesota Twins. Or, if you're New England, you could be like that. These are the colors that you got. We got Wolves. We've got, what else? Gophers. We've got Vikings and this one. We got the Wilds as well. We got the OG hats, camo, the American flag one. We got a lot of hats. Hunting season as well with that, the orange, the green, everything like that. So make sure you check us out with that. We got the sweatpants. We've got the we got the winter caps as well. It's with the snow happening today, you might want to use one. And the stickers. Don't forget the stickers. We got the MinneZona and Shield Shoutout stickers as well to keep in mind with that. So shout out to National Fleet Graphic for the stickers. And make sure you check out our guide. will retell W2 Performance at www.w2performance.com. He's doing some awesome stuff. And make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers, all your fantasy football needs. I think they're taking a break now that the season's all done. TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr., our guy, still doing some awesome stuff as well on the socials. And make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff and Ryne Myhrberg as well. Omni Entertainment, YouTube, all the socials medias. They've got new content, reviews, all of that jazz. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for episode 273. Team USA plays Friday. It's going to be a big game, obviously. I think they would play Sunday if they win.
I believe so.
And go for that gold medal and all that jazz, too. So that'll be fun to watch. Voldy, we will await the the clip and whatnot that will be on Friday as well. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Wolves coming back. Wild will be starting up around the time we are back with our next episode. So lots going on, especially with the Vikings. Free agency is coming up too. So keep that in mind as well. So without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep it the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.